What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing on this Thursday? Another beautiful night here in Chicago. I hope everyone's having a great day out there, having a great week, having a great month so far. We're halfway through February already. It's crazy, people. I know time flies. Time seems to be flying more and more as you get older in these days. Yes, Coop, I'm finally here. There he is, everyone. I know. Hello. Again, I'm solo dolo in studio today, but don't worry. Justino and G Money will be calling in to chat it up about whatever they want to talk about. We got a lot on the docket today, so we're going to talk about NBA All-Star starters were just announced about an hour ago, right before the show started. So I'm going to break down those numbers. Got some of the charts up here for you guys that we'll be able to share and kind of discuss. We'll talk about the Ramblers, obviously. What else do I talk about on the show but loyal Chicago Ramblers? There's nothing more Northside. There's no team more north in Chicago than the Ramblers, so we're going to talk about them, obviously. They've had 3 games since we last played. I'll talk about those. 2 of their worst games, honestly. 2 of their worst games on Sunday, and then last night I almost had a heart attack watching this game. Whew, that was crazy. But and then, obviously, we'll get into whatever they want to talk about. Also, we'll talk about this snow problem that's hitting Chicago right now. It's unbelievable. I can't believe this, but I'll get into that here shortly. 1 second. Let me make sure I hit record. And awesome. All right. I hit record this time. I almost messed that up last time I was here solo, but welcome, everybody. Welcome again. Thank you all for tuning in. Go Blurs, Ped. Always go Blurs. So I'm gonna have my 2 co-hosts call in at some point to chat it up. They can call in whenever. I just wanted to first brief before. I think I'm going to have G Money call in here shortly to kind of warm us up here. He's going to call in here shortly. But first, before that, I just want to talk about the snow problem here in Chicago. For all you Chicagoans that are here, this is the most nor'easter I've seen in this city. I know I've told people, whenever I go home and people ask me, like, what's the biggest differences in the winter weather, I usually say here it's just overall colder. Usually more of a brisk cold, but back northeast, I mean, we get pounded with snow all the time. I mean, when I came back from my freshman year, from my spring break freshman year, there were snow piles taller than me. That was when we had, I think, 7 feet of snow almost in that whole winter. But here, this is the most snow I've seen in Chicago. I think they said it's the most snow they've seen in a couple of years, and I believe that's G Money. So let's bring him in. Yo, G, give me a second. I gotta turn down this music, my bad.
Yo, BossDan.
Yo, what's good, G Money? How we doing?
What's going on? Shout out Northside Plugged. How y'all doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for calling in. How you doing out there up on the north? Now, you're true north side. How's it going up there on that north side?
Bruh, we got the most snow in the whole region.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
In total, we got a 1.5 feet up here, bro. I've been shoveling like crazy.
Oh my gosh. Oh
yeah, that's why I wasn't able to make it because it's just too crazy over here. So I was like, nah, man, I got to sit this one out, unfortunately.
No, I don't.
Always got to be a part of Northside Plus.
I don't blame you, and especially for you, for like driving in this is like ridiculous. Like trying to find a parking space, trying to get out of your parking spot. Like my roommate Bob, shouts out Bob and Zach and Rosie and Pippa all back in the apartment. Bob was trying to get out of the parking spot today and drive in the alley and got stuck. So it's just the amount of snow that's just here is unbelievable. And I don't blame anyone who has a car for not going anywhere, because why would you want to lose your spot potentially and then have to find another spot and then get back there? So I don't blame you for not wanting to come down. It's a pain in the butt.
And it's crazy because, like, nobody's leaving their house, and, like, easily half of the streets are, like, you know, you see cars that haven't been touched, and it just makes it hard because you have those, and then you have people that are calling dibs, which is some BS.
Oh, so you're not a fan of the spot savers?
So I was thinking about it earlier. I'm okay with it if either, number one, you're elderly, number two, not in no order or anything. Number one, you're elderly. Number two, you're disabled. Or number three, like, you have children or you're pregnant or something like that. You feel me? Like, understandable circumstances where you need the spot, this and that, whatever. Or if you, like, dug it out, you know, and everybody else didn't dig out their spot. Like, you were the only one to dig it out, then yeah, okay, I understand dibs. But I'm seeing a lot of people just, like, barely shoveling out or not shoveling out at all, and then calling dibs and everything. And then it's like, okay, I get it. Like, we all want dibs, but at the same time, like, just because you want to like be close to your spot. Everybody wants to be close to their spot.
Right.
You know, I feel like everybody should just have the equal fair opportunity. It's like either you get a spot or you don't. That's what it is, you know? So
yeah, that's why I really
either way,
go ahead, finish.
I was just gonna say either way it's all a mess, you know, and it's hard for everybody. So it's like I'm not gonna get mad at anybody for it, you know, but it's just it can be annoying.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like if you tried to drive down here and you saw spot savers like all around this block, you would have been angry. And then if you came back later and someone took your spot and you had no chance up there in off Howard, it would have been a disaster. You'd probably be driving around for like an hour trying to find a spot. So I don't blame you, but like I think if you take the time to to uncover your car and get it out so it's able to at least get on the street, I think you deserve to use a spot saver. If you spend
I agree too,
because there's so much snow. Like if you spend like an hour or something, like my friend Nick, shouts out Nick Frazier, he tweeted out the other day. He was like, "Is it okay to use a spot saver if I shoveled for over an hour?" I said, "You absolutely deserve to use a spot saver if you spent over an hour shoveling that snow, because and I feel like most cars just aren't moving at this point. I have some pictures. I wish I could share them with people right now of some cars that just look like they haven't moved and won't move till spring comes because they're just so covered in snow. There's just no point. It's unbelievable out there.
I've been digging out my neighbors and stuff, and like I literally have a whole job tomorrow for somebody that hasn't moved at all during all this snow, and I was gonna start doing it today, and I was like, I was still anticipating to go to the show at this point, you know. So I was like, all right, I did what I had to do today, and I wanted to do it all today, but it was way too much. So I was like, okay, I'll just break it up. I'll finish this other person tomorrow, bro, because it literally it's a pain in the butt.
It's insane. It's like at the beginning, like Super Bowl Super Bowl weekend, we got a couple inches, and then like during the week we got more, and it just keeps piling up. It just like every week it just seems like there's more snow, or every day it just feels like it's snowing. I feel like there's been more days where it's been snowing than it hasn't been snowing in the month of February. I just feel like every time I wake up and look out my window, I just see more snow falling, and it's just scary.
Yeah. And it sucks, insane, man, because there's a lot of old people out here, bro. And I mean, last week I busted my ish, you know, and kind of hurt my arm a little bit. So it's just like I worry. Shout out Suburb. He hurt himself on the ice. You know, it's just like, I mean, we're young and durable, so barring a bad injury, you know, it's like, well, we're more than likely to shake it off. But I really worry about all these old folks out here, you know, because it's slippery and you know, a lot of them can't shovel themselves out, and a lot of people, you know, still need to go out and get in their groceries. You know, a lot of these older folks are trying to get the vaccines. You know, it's a lot going out here, and the snow is just hindering a lot of people. I mean, Texas is in shambles right now, you know?
Yeah, and to look at it outside of Chicago, like the whole, like a bunch of the Midwest Great Plains, like all the way down to Texas, they're getting snow, and it's so cold that they never record this kind of winter. It's like Texas is receiving like a northeastern winter right now with the way it's been below zero all these days. And it's crazy because if you look on Twitter and you see all these people who are in these Texas apartments and houses, that like these houses aren't built for the cold. Like they're not meant for that. And a lot of them are just like falling apart, and it's so crazy to think about how that's happening. And like, and some people still don't want to believe climate change is real. Climate change works both ways. Climate change is real, people. It can work both extremes. So like, if you don't like, it just amazes me that people still believe it, especially after a week like this, where where a majority of the country was basically shut down from like back-to-back snowstorms just piling and just hitting the majority of the United States.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Like, Texas is like a second home to me. I've been. I mean, I haven't been to Texas a couple of years because of now COVID and whatnot, but more than likely I would be going there like once, twice a year to go visit family, and I've got friends over there and stuff too. Literally, bro, like when I was a kid, when I was younger going over there, I mean, I remember the first time we ever got snow, it was a minimal amount of snow over there. And it was Christmas. It was a Christmas day, and we were just like, oh, like, I mean, obviously I'm from Chicago, so for me it was nothing. But for my family, they were all like, the ones that are straight from Texas and not from Chicago, they were like so ecstatic, you know. And it's funny now because it's like that but times 10 for them. For like my younger cousins, for example, and they're having a ball out there enjoying the snow. But then it's like I've got other people out there that have no heat. You know, have no heat in their house.
That's the scariest part.
You know, the roofs didn't cave in or anything, but still, I mean, that's a terrible situation, especially when you're in an area where you're not used to that. You know, here we can kind of we got the thick skin for it. We're used to it. But when you're in Texas or, you know, in those areas where you're used to warm, when you get hit with something so drastic, it really throws you off, man. It's I'm praying for people out there.
Yeah, there's not much you can really prepare for when a storm like this comes in and just takes the electric and heat for, it seems like multiple days at this point. I know a bunch of people it seems like Texas is just in a state of emergency right now trying to get the power, which I found interesting. I found out that they're on their own power grid. I guess like the country's like split in two, but Texas is on its own power grid, which is like kind of biting them in the butt at this point because there's no one from outside can really do anything unless they get in there. So that's kind of scary. But I am praying for all those people and like all those who are still without heat, without electricity. Hopefully they have enough food and enough like people around them to kind of keep them sane and keep them healthy at this point because it is really scary and they're not like you said, they're not used to it. Like I remember a couple of years ago when I remember seeing like around the Atlanta area, Atlanta, Georgia, getting like an inch of snow and they shut down the whole state. I just can't imagine what would happen if they what's happening now is if they get like 6 to 8 inches and like everything just is freezing because there's just like nothing they can do. They don't have the plows, they don't have the salt shakers, they don't have like all the shovel, they don't have like the crew or the resources necessary to kind of solve this problem right now. That's why they're looking at other states to kind of help them out, and it's just really scary.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I'm as I'm on the phone here talking to you, I'm also on Facebook, and I have a friend that, like I said, he lives in Texas. This is the same one that has no heat. He took pictures of him going to the grocery store. Literally, all of the shelves are empty, bro. Produce is completely empty. Like bakery goods and stuff. You feel me? Like any type of deli, like all that type of stuff is I'm talking about. There's nothing in the shelves, bro. Completely empty.
That's insane. I know it's
completely empty.
Yeah, I just hope all those people are helping those who can't get out, like you said, like the elderly or like people with families who can't like make the time to go out to the grocery store. At least trying to help them get the essentials right now because it's crazy down there. And even today when I was walking in Chicago, like some of the not all the sidewalks are still shoveled, which is insane. If you don't shovel a sidewalk, that if you own the building and you don't shovel the sidewalk around it, then you're just lazy at this point. But
bro, this all this snow has showed a lot of people's true colors. It shows that people are lazy, and it shows that I had another word, bro. There was one more word. Damn, I'm gonna get back to you on that one. The lazy for sure.
And like for me and even my roommates, like we've seen people like get stuck in the snow, and we've just like instinctually just like trying to go out and try to help them as much as they can. Like even when my roommate Bob got stuck in the alley today, someone from across the alley like came out to help him first before he got me and Zach from inside the house. It's amazing because there is some people, it is show the laziness, and it also shows the good side in people that want to help others when they're stuck in these snowbanks, because these snowbanks are humongous. It's literally up to my kneecaps at every block, and there's some snowbanks that are over my head. It's insane. I've never seen any snow like this in Chicago. I've only seen this amount of snow back in Hanson. Never really seen anything like this here. Emily said the only good thing about my car being in the shop for 2 weeks now is digging out. Yeah, that is good now, Emily, but good luck finding a spot when you have to take it out of this shop. That's going to be the hard part, because if there's any spot savers on that street, you're going to be SOL trying to look for a spot.
Hey, I got to stress something for the people that have never seen BossDan in full life, in real life. He said that there's some snowbanks that are as tall as him. That is a tall snowbank.
Very large snowbank.
Snowbank, just to let y'all know, because damn, BossDan is a tall man.
Yeah, there are some that are insane. Like, I actually looked the snowbanks in the eyes. Yeah, I'm just like, holy crap, there's been this much snow that's came in this time. It's crazy when I see all that snow there. It's just,
that's nuts.
I'm trying to think of the worst snow I've seen in Chicago before this. I want to say my freshman year there was like a Super Bowl snowstorm, I think that that might have been the most that I've seen. I can't think of another
Yeah.
time. But like,
So for me, bro, I could say that for sure was a big one. 10 years ago, like I want to say it was like winter of 2010 going into 2011. So it would have been our freshman year of high school. That was really crazy. I think that would have been like the last big super blizzard that we had. Yeah, we've had a few, man. We've definitely had our fair share. It snows bad, and then you have one, I would say, every like 10, 15, maybe 20 years where it's something like this.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, something that's just out of the ordinary and very, it's memorable. It's going to be one of those months that you remember as the month where it just didn't stop snowing. February 2021.
Yeah.
It's going to be the month that it didn't stop snowing in the city of Chicago. And the worst part about this is that the worst part about snowstorms like this is that it's going to stay cold for a while. So the snow's going to stay for a long time.
Yeah.
It's going to stay for a while, which is even more, which is even worse.
Well, I mean, we're going to be in kind of the 30s-ish, and it's going to snow a couple more times in the next week. So hopefully,
Unbelievable.
Maybe some of it will melt with
more
some
snow.
sun, but
more snow.
Yeah, we're gonna be living with this for a minute.
Oh, jeez, I just pray for you and all my car owners out there who have to deal with uncovering their car, trying to get it out of its spot, saving the spot, finding a spot whenever you go to get to your destination, and all that jazz. I just feel for those people, and I'm really lucky that I don't have a car right now because I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely got its pros and cons for sure, but I don't. It sucks, but I don't so much mind it. You kind of just got to maneuver how you can. I mean, obviously, I would love to be at Northside Plugged right now, but we make do.
Yeah, of course. There's things out of your control, and like I said, I totally get why you didn't want to travel because especially if you have to shovel today and tomorrow, it's a lot of energy that it's going to take, and to drive all the way here and back,
a lot
just
of
be
factors.
A pain. Yeah, that's what's crazy is about this snowstorm.
A lot of factors.
Yeah, it just affects everything. You don't really think about it until it happens. I mean, we've been so used to being inside, so I guess that's not totally out of the norm.
Yeah.
But like usually in these snowstorms, you just don't go anywhere, and like you're just like stuck inside your house. But that doesn't seem unusual right now because we've been stuck like that for a year. so it's almost like routine at this point. You just be like, oh, I can't leave my house because there's just conditions outside that are forcing me to stay inside. Bet I got this. Except for those essential items like food and everything. I actually did food shopping today, and it wasn't as crowded as I thought it was going to be. But
yeah, it's not as bad.
Yeah, it's not as bad. I think because people were stocking up over the past couple weeks as the snow piled up. But I had to do my first run in a couple weeks, and because I was running low on a lot of things.
The key is to go either like early in the morning or like kind of in the daytime. It's once you hit the evening and the night, that's when it gets packed and everybody's,
Yeah, if you go there at like 4 or 5 o'clock, you might it's going to be the busiest it's going to be. So we went early afternoon, luckily, so it wasn't bad. It was good timing for us there, definitely.
Bro, I remember back when I was working at Mariano's, and I was working produce, and so at that Mariano's, like it was a 3-story building, and shout out Lawrence and Ravens with Mariano's. That's the best Mariano's in Chicago. Just to put it out.
Shout out.
But yeah, you would go in on the first floor, and then to get to the like main store, you got to go up the escalator. So that's the second floor. And so I would be working in produce, and as soon as you go up the escalator, that's the produce department. So literally, bro, at like 5 o'clock, because it's right. That Mariano's is right by a metro station.
Gotcha.
Everybody at 5 o'clock gets off of the train and goes straight up to Mariano's. I'm talking about, bro. It literally in 2 seconds, it goes from like pretty chill and quiet to packed.
Just packed. In a snap, just like that.
So that's just a little perspective.
Yeah, a little perspective on the food shopping, on the supermarket industry. Absolutely.
Fun facts.
So, fun facts. I love that.
We like to shake it up here on Northside Plugged. Give you all the secret intel.
Yeah, we like to give. Yeah, we love to give inside scoops on everything we can here in Northside Plugged. That's what we're all about. Is giving you the facts, giving you the scoops.
The real stories.
Yeah. So how you doing besides that, G Money? Everything else good?
Doing good, man. Glad to be talking to you. Enjoying Northside Plugged from my end as much as I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't know. It's been a little bit of a weird week, but I don't know. It always gets better as soon as I come here. It's kind of I don't know why, but this is always a space for me to kind of start preparing for the weekend, I guess. Because like I come here and I'm just like, I know like when I'm on my way here, I'm like, all right, I only have like one thing, and then it's like the weekend, and there's always just so much coming with the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know, but with all the snow, it's just been kind of crazy. Started a new diet this week with my roommate Zach, which is awful. Diets are terrible.
True.
Diets are
good for you
brutal. It's I mean, it was one of those things where we're gonna try it. We tried it. It's funny. We actually did this. It's called keto, which is basically low carb. We did this back last February, and it actually worked pretty well for us. We did pretty great, and then we were like, oh, let's continue for March because like we're on a good streak. We might as well keep it going. And then everything shut down, so then we decided if we're gonna be stuck inside all the time, we're not gonna be on a diet. But at this point, we're just like we've eaten so terribly over these past 11 months. A lot of takeout that it was time for a change. And the best part about this diet is I don't order out, so I spent a lot more at the grocery store than I usually do, but I won't have to pay for any outside meals for the next couple of weeks.
Sure.
So it's all about trade-off in that front.
Got to balance, trade-off, exactly. Opportunity cost.
Exactly.
Economic.
Yeah. Heck yeah! For all my business students out there, shouts out Quinlan. Shouts out the Quinlan School of Business.
Shout out Quinlan.
Shouts out Quinlan.
Shout out Keith. Always got to shout out.
Always shouts out Keith Lambrick. Shouts out my man for keeping it real, holding down the sports management department.
Bro.
That is. I
feel like there's no Northside Plugged without Keith Lambrick, bro.
Honestly, that's kind of true. I agree with that. I kind of agree with that.
He's like an indirect, like he didn't have anything specifically to do with like us getting the opportunity of Northside Plugged, but I think just the whole, I think for you and I at least, like, being in the sports management program, and him being the basically the top dog of the sports management program, I think that's kind of the direct line of it,
Mm-hmm.
like he kind of is the backbone of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he leads that department now. Once Professor Gramada, when Sarah Gramada left, he kind of took over as the head honcho of the sports management program.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were taking, I believe it was sports law when we first started Northside Plugged, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think because we took that junior year or senior year.
Oh, it must not have been.
No, because well, I don't remember.
I don't remember. I thought we had Lambert.
No, you know what it was, bro? I think I remember. I think it was senior year, first semester we took that class, I believe. And then it was second semester where we started Northside Plugged.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. But
I think you're right because that was definitely senior year. Was finance. I don't remember.
I have a gut feeling it was senior year too. I don't remember for sure, but I think.
But yeah, I think
either way, that class is hard.
Yeah, that huge paper was ridiculous. Which is funny. My paper I wrote about NCAA likeness and how they didn't use them. They don't make the video games anymore because of likeness reasons, and now they're going to make a new football game in 2024. Yeah. So I guess I'll have to revisit that paper and see what I said about what would happen in the future because they're going to remake this game shortly here, and going to be interesting.
That's nuts. Full circle, right?
Mm-hmm. Full circle, exactly. Crazy how those things work.
I did my paper on marijuana in sports.
Yes.
I remember Keith was kind of iffy about the topic. Well, I'm going for it, man.
Well, it's funny because now a lot of the leagues, I know the NBA and the NFL have taken marijuana off their off their illegal drugs list. So like if they test positive for that, they're not going to do anything. Because I think your paper probably said this, and I'm thinking about this now. Like marijuana and like THC in general is just a good way to de-stress, and it's better than over-the-counter drugs. So for all these athletes to be smoking a joint rather than popping a couple pills, I mean, I feel like that's much better in the long term.
Yeah. no doubt. And I mean, bro, like I feel like marijuana, bro, it's multi-purpose. You know, it's like I feel like if you're injured as an athlete, and you know, I can't name something like off the top of my head in terms of injuries, but like say you have this physical injury, you know, and you got to take medication. Well, that's cool. It's going to help that injury, but it might have side effects. It might, you know, you don't know what else it's going to do. And I feel like with marijuana, again, depending on the injury, you know, not only is it going to help physically, not fully, but it definitely is going to help. But mentally, man, like that, that's, I feel like the game changer. And I think like with the balance and the overall, like, I'm getting kind of like metaphysical with it, but like circulation of like your mind, your body, and your spirit are all kind of healing at the same time. Whoa. You know, and you already have the I would say increased healing abilities being an athlete because you're just such in great shape, especially being a professional. I just think marijuana, like in certain circumstances, is like definitely the way to go, you know?
Absolutely, and it's better than a lot of those over-the-counter drugs because those become much more addictive than marijuana can, and the THC has been proven to not just like help with those things, but also relax the players in general. So I agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I can just say from my own perspective, not on the athlete side, but man, like just mentally and because I used to get a lot of migraines, and I still get them here and there. But I mean, to this day, man, like, marijuana can definitely help a lot of things for sure. And you know, I'm not, in no way do I promote drugs or anything, but just through my own perspective and experience, like I can really advocate for the medicinal benefits of marijuana for sure. Like I would definitely recommend it.
Absolutely.
You know, but when it's the problem is some people either don't know how to use it or, you know, just get out of control with it and it overtakes their life. Like that's when it becomes a problem.
Right.
You know, so it's like you have to know how to balance it, and you got to know how much, and you know, just kind of know your dose of what's good for you.
Yeah,
you know, that's the best way to use it.
Absolutely, you got to know your limits, and you know, and they always say too much of anything is never a good thing. So you got to just learn to like pace and just kind of know your limits on everything, basically. Emily brings this up at this point. I actually didn't know this. Emily said that weed companies are starting to sponsor endurance athletes because some of them will smoke so they don't get bored on like 30-mile runs or long rides and things like that. That actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's totally great. I feel like that happened. I mean, remember when Michael Phelps got like in super trouble for admitting that he smoked marijuana? Like one of the greatest Olympic athletes ever admitted that he might smoke marijuana, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe it. This man's a national icon. How can he be doing all this stuff? It was just so funny, the outrage. And now, however many years we're at later, all these states are making it legalized, and it's becoming more and more of a norm. Yeah, it's just funny how much we've come and how much we've grown as a country and as a society in these past decade or so. And that's perfectly proven by what Emily's saying about companies, weeds companies sponsoring athletes. Like that's just hilarious. Yeah, that's just awesome.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I think that's really cool because you said like she said how runners can get bored, and I'm like I've always loved playing sports, and you know I love basketball and soccer because it's, in terms of running, it's a lot of back and forth, which I'm a big fan of. But I've always hated like long distance running and never really understood, like I was just never the type of person to really be able to do that because and it's because of that mentality thing. And this is, I hope Justin's listening right now because he could probably make a great point on this because he's a track star himself. But yeah, man, if you're doing 30 miles, it's just like I can't even imagine how like mentally boring and like also just like you're just stuck in your head. Just like, okay, I gotta go 29, 30, 31, you know, like So
Yeah, with
I feel like it's a more entertaining run per
yeah,
se.
it makes
More
it that
jersey.
much better when you have to do those things. I think the big thing with like individual sports like that, whether it be long distance running, swimming, tennis, golf,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much of a mental game because you're your own teammate. There's no one else to kind of
Yeah.
bounce things off of, or like someone else to pick you up when you're down. There's just so much mental strain and mental. You just have to be so mentally tough to do those things and compete at the highest level in these individualist sports that there are some people who want to kind of get out of their head for a little bit, and maybe that's what marijuana does for them, or maybe it helps them stay active on those long runs. So
You zone in, yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, you either zone out or you zone in.
It affects everyone different ways.
Yeah. And that goes back to the point, you know, it's just you gotta know how it affects you and know what's best for you, man, and it's super important. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm very happy we're having this conversation, man, because I think it's important, and especially with the direction that, you know, the world is moving in, this is something that has to be talked about. You know, it can't be this just like, I don't know, like everybody knows about it, but nobody wants to talk about it type of thing. It's like, no, we got to talk about the real stuff, and especially if it's something that can be beneficial. Like, there's no reason to keep it under the bus, especially as our generation gets older and we begin, if not have already, to, you know, create the next generation. You know, and it's that marijuana is going to be a huge aspect of their lives. I don't know how yet. I just mean more so industry wise, you know, because they're going to grow up in a world where marijuana is normalized. Like, it's not going to be anything to them. Like, for us, it was still like, oh, you know, like.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I know
it
exactly
took a
what
while,
you mean.
type of thing.
Yeah, it's going to take a while for kind of all those stigmas to kind of to really go away. Like all the stigmas that have been created about it, like all, you know, all the classic movie scenes of like your Cheech and Chongs, your Dazed and Confused, like all those classic stoner, like of like old school, like, you know what I'm talking about. Just like all those stigmas.
How high?
Yeah, like how high? Yeah, exactly. Half baked.
Half baked.
Exactly. Like all the stigmas that are in those movies, and I think we're moving away from those. But like you said, it's going to be like the next generation that kind of they're not going to see it as that because they just accept that it's a normal thing. Like they're not going to worry about all that stuff because it's just part of their daily lives or part of their culture after a certain point.
Yeah, man. And I feel like too, just kind of like going based off of the history of like, just because marijuana was illegalized because they basically wanted put the tax on it or something like that. You know, they were trying to finesse and make money.
Exactly.
Not so much because it was a dangerous, but it was like, you know, if you want to use it, you gotta pay
taxes.
You gotta go through this legal system. You gotta pay a certain amount of money, you know, in simplistic terms.
Yeah.
And my point being is that it's crazy how, you know, that was not too far long ago, but still a far way back, and we're seeing just, you know, through generations over time, you know, things become normalized. And I think that goes with also where we are, you know, with the problem of racism, for example, in our country, you know. And it's just like, I mean, these are two different, you can't compare them, but I'm just saying, like, it's taken generations and generations for us to be able to slowly but surely, like, basically, as totality of all people, like, know that what are the truths, right? What are the truths, and how can we just better ourselves as a society to not, you know, discriminate, basically, not discriminate whether it's beneficial pharmaceuticals or discriminate from people who are all equal, you know. And the root of the problems of where we've been at with both of those is to be straight up greedy white folks, you know, greedy white folks that want to hoard all the benefits for themselves, and everybody else just has to, you know, make ends meet, or everybody has to fight for what they should be, you know, what everybody should be entitled to, not just because you're white, you know.
Yeah, and
just because you're white, you get to smoke weed. You know, just because you're white, you get to go to this certain place. You know, it's like, no, we have to keep moving forward so that eventually future generations, our future kids, can live in a world where they're not even thinking about, oh, marijuana is anything. They're not thinking about, oh, you know, black people or Mexicans are bad. You know, that type of thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of people have been kind of realizing as marijuana becomes more legalized in more and more states, I think people want to kind of go back to all those people that have been arrested on marijuana charges, whatever it be, like holding, selling, dealing, whatever it is. There are a lot of people who want to like be like, hey, if it's like legal now, then can't these people like get out of prison because like they were wrongfully accused or all these things. I agree with you that it's gonna take some time for it to kind of go in the direction that that the majority of society wants, in the way that it's looked at, the way it's handled in the legal system, and all these things. Because you can say like all these states can legalize it, but they always warn you it's like it's not legal at a federal level. So if you take it over state borders, like you're gonna be in trouble. So it's going to be a while before it kind of is just like a normal thing, and like dispensaries are as common as liquor stores. But I think it will happen in our lifetimes, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's just all about pushing the envelope, and I think that's what our generation really is, bro. It's just like with everything that's going on, and especially, you know, after the year that we had in 2020, I think it just really encapsulated what our mission is as a generation. You know, it's like we may not live to see everything that we want to see happen in the world, but I think we are the generation wholeheartedly that is going, as you know, the late great Tupac said, you know, we'll be the ones to light the flame, or he was like, he's gonna be the one to ignite the spark, you know. And I think that's what our generation really is like we're the ones that are gonna ignite the spark, this next spark, for the new generations to come, to be like, okay, you know, we need everything to be right. We can't be living in these twisted, crazy world that we live in, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've been saying it when we talk about the elections, or with Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter movement and all the protests. We've just been repeating it, and like it's the same theme. It's just that like our group, our generation, and the generation next to us are going to be the ones that really pushes the envelope and changes and makes the changes that we want to see in this country.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So we just gotta keep pushing.
Always keep pushing. Always keep pushing.
100%. Shall we segue, my friend?
Yeah, of course.
You're in the hot seat, so you got to take charge today.
All right, I'll segue. So, I know we're gonna get Justino in a little bit, but before I get him on, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Let me bring this up real quick so all the people at home can see. So, if you haven't heard, the NBA All-Star Game has officially announced that they're going to be holding it on Sunday, March 7th, and they're going to be having all the events on one day. So they're going to have the skills challenge and the three-point contest right before the game. They're going to have the dunk contest at halftime, and it's going to be all in one night in Atlanta, I believe. And the first results, the results for the starters were released today. Hold on, give me a second here. I messed up my camera. Oh, okay, there I am. Right, cool. Transition. All right, cool. So now if people can see it on the screen, is the All-Star voting results. Basically, so the way that the voting worked, for those of you who are unaware, basically what they have is they have the fan vote, which takes up 50% of the weight, and then they have a player vote and a media vote that take up the other 25%, and they take 3 guys from the front court and 2 from the guards pool as their starters from each conference, and then they'll bring on the reserves. I believe they're announcing the reserves on Tuesday, and that's where they'll kind of fill the teams with everyone else that's remaining. I don't know if you were able to see the results, but I just want to hear your any opening thoughts about those, G.
Here, let me pull them up right now. I saw the West.
Yeah, so the West. So the where did it go? Okay. So the Western Conference starters, LeBron James is your captain again, Nikola Jokic and Kawhi Leonard, and then Stephen Curry and Luka Doncic are your other two starters. And if you look at the vote, the polls, the way that it's done is it's actually funny because Luka and Damian technically had the same weighted score because of the way the polls worked, but because Luka had a larger fan vote, he is technically the starter and beat out Damian. So those are the Western Conference starters, and then Kevin Durant is the captain in the East with Giannis and Embiid, and then Bradley Beal and Kyrie Irving are the other two starters. And I believe they're going to do it the same as last year, and the year before that, where they draft teams. So it's going to be Team LeBron and Team KD that are going to draft from the player pool. Their first take from the starters, and then they take from the player pool in general. So initially off the bat, one of the things that I noticed, or one of the things that I'm happy about, is Bradley Beal finally getting the recognition he deserves. The poor man has been in Washington last year without John Wall, this year with kind of a ragtag group, just kind of throwing up 40-point games all over the place, trying to will his team to victory. I'm just happy he's finally getting the recognition he deserves and is going to be a starter in an all-star game.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And Washington has had a tough season, so it at least they get something, you know. Because I know it's always nice when you're a losing team, but whether they're a starter or whether they're a reserve, like when it's all-star and you still get to see a player in the game, it just always makes you feel a little bit better about your team, you know. So I know Washington fans are happy about that. I would say my initial takeaway, I think the East, the East is Gucci. The West, I'm happy with it. I would say the only thing, and I mean, it seems like the fan voting is just kind of, it is what it is type of thing, but I would definitely, if I had the choice, I would definitely put Damian Lillard as a starter over Luka.
I think a lot of people agree with that, but because the fan vote weighs so heavily on the way it's done, that Luka gets the advantage because everyone wants to vote Luka.
Yeah, it's no knock to Luka, bro, and I think I'm not mad with the start. You know, I think he's well deserving. It's just like, you know, you have Damian Lillard. Even when CJ McCollum and Nurkic were healthy, they were balling, you know, and with them being out, and he's had to step up. Of course, he's delivering, man, and still mad about that Bulls game, bro. When Damian Lillard,
you'll never get over that one, will you?
But he gamed our butts, bro. I was blown, but we digress. Yeah, man, I think he should definitely have been a starter.
Yeah,
but everybody else, I think, is good, man. I think you can't go wrong with anything else.
Yeah, I think looking at the rest of the starters, I think that's really the only one that I'd argue with. I mean, Kyrie is a little, I don't know, but, I guess the way the Nets are playing, you're going to put someone on the Nets as the second starter because it's funny. It's Bradley Beal, Kyrie.
I would put Kyrie as a starter, bro. I think he's been hooping. I think it's just, I think there's been a lot going on with him that's just kind of
that's very
diluted.
True. Yeah,
diluted his not his persona, do I want to say, but just his public perception overall, and I think that affects how people view him as a basketball player. You know, but if you just look at him as a basketball player and how he's produced while he's been on the court, wow. I mean, and this has been one of his best seasons, to be honest, man. He's been hooping.
Yeah, very, very true. That's a very good point. He has been hooping a lot, and he has. And it's funny because he gets all the scrutiny for missing those games, and people are like, "Oh, what kind of player is this?" And he goes on the court and then just drops 35 on a regular basis, and he can just do it at will. And that's what's really nice when you're one of the best players in the world, is that one of the best guards in the world, is that you can miss a couple games, come back into rhythm, and still be able to drop 35 or 40 on any given night.
Yeah.
So
as we speak, they're playing. The Nets and Lakers are playing right now, bro.
Oh boy, that's a great game. Is that on TNT?
It's on TNT, yes, sir. I don't know. Here, let me. We can keep the conversation going. I'll just see what's going on real quick in terms of the score.
That's okay. I was hoping that was going to be a West Coast game because then I'd at least catch a little bit of it. But that's fine. They'll play again later, and they'll probably play each other in the finals. Let's be honest.
Oh wait, no, it's not going on right now. I'm sorry. It starts at 8 or 9. No, 9.
Oh, let's go.
So yeah, Nate, you will be able to catch.
I'll get some of it when I get home. Excellent. Yes, wonderful. I'd love to hear that. I think I'm just saying that I didn't want Kyrie to be a starter only because I believe that either Jalen or Zach LaVine
Yeah.
should have been starters, and that's just going to be bias, obviously, because I think but even Zach LaVine, I think Zach LaVine technically has a better weighted score than Jalen because of he has a better player rank, which is interesting to see.
Yeah.
But
I think Zach LaVine. I think it would be robbery not to have Zach LaVine as an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's it called? Going with where they're at. I think Bradley Beal definitely deserves it, man. That man has been hooping, bro.
Yeah, that man deserves it more than anyone. And I believe it's a second All-Star game, but because he was an All-Star last year, I believe. But yeah, he definitely deserves the starter. Yeah, wasn't he an All-Star last year? Am I correct on that?
This one's his third.
Third All-Star game.
The graphic right now.
Oh, my apologies, Brad. I'm sorry, Bradley. I didn't mean to disrespect you like that. But I'm glad he's starting. And I think everywhere else across the board. I mean, I'm arguing with Kyrie, but that's because I'm biased, and I would rather see Zach LaVine or Jaylen Brown in there. But those guys will be.
You're just mad because he dipped, bro.
Nah, I don't care about him. I got Kemba Walker now,
salty. Man. That's some Boston salt right there.
There is a little salt in that take. I will admit that. There's definitely some salt in that take.
No, I feel you. I'd be salty too.
Yeah, but on Tuesdays when they'll announce the reserves, I don't know how deep they go in the front court and the guards, but I'm assuming if they take the top 5 at least from the front court and the guards, then Zach LaVine and Jaylen Brown will both be all-stars this time.
Man. They all deserve it.
They both deserve that. There's going to be a lot. I mean, Devin Booker also. Who else?
Oh, he has to be an all-star.
I think
Zion has to be an all-star.
Zion might be an all-star as well. First all-star game for him.
That would be cool. I would if he becomes an all-star, that's cool. But I think I don't know. I think he can go either way. Mm-hmm. If there's more well-deserving players, I think you got to give it to them. But I think he's definitely if he's not an all-star this year, he's going to be an all-star in the future. No doubt about it.
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing, I haven't thought about this. I just kind of thought about it as we were talking. I wonder what they're going to do if any players decide to just opt out, if they don't want to play because of the COVID protocols or anything like that. Because I know a couple weeks ago, De'Aaron Fox was saying I don't think we should have an all-star game. I think that's stupid. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
kind of like that. And I'm just curious if any player will just be yeah, I'm glad I was voted, but I don't want to go there. I'm just gonna take I'm gonna take the day off for myself and not try to go outside my bubble or whatever they want to describe it as. I'm really curious because sometimes we see players who are voted, but they just have a bad timely injury, so then they get replaced by someone else on the roster. I'm just curious if we'll see anyone that chooses to opt out because of COVID-related issues, not necessarily other injury-related issues, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got a feeling the majority of the all-stars, whether they're starters or reserves, I think they'll if they get selected, I think they'll be a part of it. They'll want to be a part of it, and I don't know, man. I feel because the NBA is just one big fraternity basically, and I think when they all have their protocols at this point, I think at this point it's either a mistake or you're just being careless in the sense of if you're an NBA player and you catch COVID, I mean you may have scenarios where it just it's out of your control, it just kind of happened, but I think there's also, and probably more than not, the cases that do happen or the players being careless, and then boom, they go play a game or practice with the team, and next thing you know, 4 or 5 players have the virus.
Right.
So with that being said, I feel there's a lot of confidence with the players, and I think they'll feel pretty safe overall, and I think the NBA will do a more than good job of making sure that everything is safe.
Yeah, I know Adam Silver in a message to the media stressed that they're doing it for the fans, and it's funny. Yeah. Someone replied and said, "Yeah, the fans don't really. It's they were the fans, the city of Atlanta, and the players all don't want it." But that's just an extreme thing where they're just assuming what a few people have said. But I mean, I'm just really. I think I want it to happen. I just hope that nothing bad is a result of
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
forcing this upon us, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's necessarily forcing.
All it takes is one, man. That's what's scary.
Yeah, exactly. It takes one positive to be in that bubble, and then imagine if all those all-stars got infected, like tested
stars,
positive.
Bro, that'd be terrible.
Like all the best players in the league get it in that weekend, and then it's
That's
just
scary.
and then the whole
scary.
and then the whole league is basically relying off all the secondary superstars to kind of come in and take over.
That would suck,
Yeah,
bro.
that
would be a big L. That'd probably be the biggest L in NBA or sports history. Which is all awful. Of your stars, majority would come back, if not all of them.
Right.
They're gonna be taken care of. They got all the resources, but still, like that'd be terrible.
Yeah, I know Jason Tatum has even said that like he's feeling some long-term effects. Like he doesn't have his stamina is not the same. He said it like he can't breathe as easily. So like maybe a guy like him who's already have breathing problems might just be like, thanks for the nomination, but I don't think it's in my best interest to play. So, but I guess we'll see over the next few weeks when they kind of put the rosters together and do their draft or whatever.
Yeah, it's scary, man. It's very real. And I think I may have mentioned it last week, but it's just like, there's people out here. I know a few people that, or have had COVID or, months later down the line are still dealing with certain after effects, like the taste, smell, the lack of taste, smell type of thing, and other post symptoms. And it's just very real, and it sucks, man. So that we got to hope and pray that nothing like that would happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to pray for the best health of everyone in this country as we get more people vaccinated, and as the numbers are going down, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
So as we get more people vaccinated and we slowly kind of work our way back to a normal society, we got to take as much precaution as we can. And I hope that when they do put on this All-Star weekend in Atlanta, that first weekend of March, that and like knowing them and all the money they have, they will do what they can to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Sure.
Because the NBA is like the way that the NBA handles things is the way that a lot of the other leagues kind of look to the NBA to see how they handle things. Because like the way the bubble was handled and all those things is like kind of the template, like the template of how these leagues should handle those things. So they look like a lot of the smaller leagues look upon the NBA as to what they should do. So I just hope, and I have faith that they will handle it properly and won't make any stupid mistakes or do anything to be reckless with the situation.
Yeah, I agree. I noticed one thing, bro. I noticed there's no celebrity game for, again, obvious reasons, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Yeah, everything's going to be one day. Everything's going to be on March 7th.
Yeah.
So they're going to put it all, instead of making it a weekend with all the people, it's just going to be the one day, televise it, stream it for people. They can watch everything at one sitting, which will be nice that you don't have to plan it out, and you can watch everything at once. So that'll be interesting to see how they handle it with everything on the same day. It's a way different All-Star weekend than what we saw in Chicago last winter.
I think it's like, I don't know, man. Like as I'm thinking about it, I've got mixed feelings about it, because on one side, I'm like, this is actually kind of interesting. Like, I like how the NBA is always willing with All-Star. They're always willing to shake it up. Every year, they like doing things a little bit differently to see what works and what doesn't, And I think with COVID forcing this, I think it's still a cool kind of let's try this out for 1 year thing, to like everything be on one day. I mean, I personally enjoyed the whole weekend much more, because there's nothing better than Saturday night, that Saturday night is dedicated to the 3-point dunk contest, yada, 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 but I mean, given the circumstances, I am intrigued and I am excited to see how it all unfolds on one day. So I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
What's your take?
I agree with you. I mean, we're so used to like the weekend where Friday you have the celebrity game, Saturdays the like all the skills challenges and the 3-point contest and the dunk contest, and then Sunday's the game. Them putting it all in one day, like you said, the end, like they like to change it up to kind of keep it fresh, because there was a period for a couple of years where it didn't feel like it was really changing much. and they weren't doing a lot to. It was just kind of like the same things, and I think they realized once the dunk contest was kind of getting less and less like important, or people were viewing it like not as intently as they were in like the early 2000s or the 90s and all those years, that they know they need to spice things up with the skills challenge bracket, with the all these other things that they kind of throw in there to make it interesting. So it will be cool to kind of see everything at once, and I just hope that I just hope everything goes smoothly. But I have good faith in the NBA that they will handle things properly.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree. I don't know if Justino is listening, but Justino, if you want to call, if you're ready to call, just kick me out. Or if there's any other callers, kick me out.
I don't know if I can tell if I get a beep or if they just kind of send them to voicemail, but we'll text Justino real quick if he wants to jump in for a little bit.
I think it what's it called, from what I can recall, I think when there's one call going on, they'll show like another, it'll show on the screen like, yo, like this is the number type of thing calling. I don't know, I think. But either way, callers, call in. Call BossDan.
Yeah, I think here's the call. All right. I'm getting another call. So, G, thank you for calling, and I appreciate it. Oh.
Yes, sir.
And
go ahead, brother.
I didn't pick up in time.
Ah,
but I want to catch their next call, because if it is Justin, he'll probably call right back.
Yeah, no, go ahead, bro. Thank you so much, man.
G, thanks for calling in. Stay safe. Watching. Yeah, stay safe, and we'll see you next week, and have a great weekend. All right, my friend. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you as well.
Thanks.
All right, peace out.
Peace out.
Okay. Answering this. All right. We lose one host, we gain another. Yo, this is Northside Plugged.
Yo. Can you hear me?
Justino, what's good, my brother? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks. You're sounding good on my end. How am I sounding on your end?
You are sounding great on this end. Thank you for tuning in.
Perfect.
How are you doing this fine Thursday evening?
I'm doing all right now. I'm a little tickled by the fact that this audio is working all right, because it's what is it? It's an AirPods knockoff for $20, man.
Oh.
I'll take it.
All right, I like that. Nothing like a good knockoff brand that works as well as the normal brand. I agree with you. There's nothing like a good feeling where you got something cheap and that it shouldn't last as long as it does, but it does. But it works for you because you take good care of it and things like that. So I'm glad to hear that the knockoff AirPods.
For some reason, headphones seems to be the thing for me. But I digress. It's nice. I can move around freely and hear you clearly and have you hear me clearly. And the show's been going smoothly. I like the topics going to and fro. I can add to any, or we can transition to other topics you want to personally talk about, or however you want to direct us, Mr. Dan.
Well, you're the caller, so I'd love to hear what you want to talk about first. Do you want what would you like to talk about, Justino?
Oh, you guys were talking about something earlier, about something that you wanted my opinion on. What was that again? Marijuana. Well, marijuana usage as a runner.
Yes, that's what it was.
It's kind of funny.
Go ahead.
It's kind of funny because I do kind of have a story, and it's like I can only imagine what it must be to like be so naturally, physically able to just do what they do at that high level that it probably is boring. But for me personally, it was always super stressful. So weed was always a way to calm down rather than like get creative while I'm on this long competitive run. Like it was always like a real competition for me, and I almost like had like a pseudo like placebo-y like asthmatic symptoms and stuff. So I don't know, smoking before I ran always helped me calm down in the sense that I didn't feel that debilitating competitive I don't know, feeling that sometimes I was plagued by.
That's interesting. So I'm curious as like a guy, as a person who has distance runs in a more frequent basis than I have. I always ask people this when I ask them, like, what's going through your mind when you're running these long distances? Like, is there anything specific that you like to think about, or I don't know, how does that usually go for you? Is there something, any certain music you want to listen to, or things of that nature?
That if I'm going on like a distance run for the sake of like, oh, I'm gonna clear 12 miles or something, and I do need to like occupy my time. Honestly, when I was in high school, I used to think about like, I don't know, my friends and like what their superpowers would be if they're like, I don't know, if we lived in a fantastical, I don't know,
I like that.
type of, I don't know, I always got creative with stuff like that in my head naturally. So I didn't ever really need weed to do that. For the long runs, I just kind of did that naturally. Fun fact, going to Loyola, my intention during my stay at Loyola was to write a fantasy novel, but realizing that I didn't read enough fantasy novels to begin with, it became more of a challenge than anything. Shout out to Nick Eicher, actually, to finishing his own novel.
Shouts out to our friend Nick Eicher all the way out in Japan. I hope he's tuning in.
Well, I just know that he's well, and we send him love from afar.
Okay, so I have two follow-up questions to what you just said. One, what was your superpower that you came up with for yourself if you thought about not just your friends but yourself? And two, what was the fantasy novel? What did you have any ideas of what kind of fantasy novel you wanted to write?
Oh man, I haven't thought about this in years. I was always a big buff on like elemental type of stuff, like that, kind of like the Avatar type of I don't want to say like theory, but like the plot lines and the fantastical plot lines, like the manipulation of nature and stuff. I was always like, I don't know, I felt like water and ice manipulation. That was kind of cool. I always thought that was kind of my thing.
Okay.
And then after what was it, my second or third trip on acid, I was like, man, like what would it be like to just kind of like bounce through time or whatnot, or to exist within like certain dimensions? Have you ever seen the movie was it Interstellar?
Yes. Great movie.
Remember when he breaks the event horizon and gets sucked into the black hole, man?
Ooh. Yeah, right. They go essentially like around the drain into the black hole or whatever.
Pretty much, and like construct like a fourth or fifth dimensional like construct in 3 dimensions, just kind of exploring those types of metaphysical, what is it called? Almost he's a Marvel character, Doctor
Strange. Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, kind of like, yeah, metaphysical bendy type powers. They were always intriguing to me too. I always thought like, I don't know, being able to comprehend the first time you ever, I don't know, experienced something like that, or believed you have experienced something like that. I don't know, it's kind of like a paradigm shift for the brain. Those things always kind of were cool to me, and people who had explored those things and understood those things. I always tried to think like how would people how would powers develop beyond the typical ones, like the original example of like manipulating water, fire, earth, yada yada. But that's, I don't know, that gets kind of deep with it. But yeah, I essentially had a lot of free time when I was on these runs to think deep about those types of things and the variables, and I don't know what certain types of powers people in my life would develop. I don't know, if we're thinking about like purely original character development based off of people that were close to me on like a personality level, that those are types of things that inspired me as a creative.
Okay, I get you. I feel you there. I totally get that. I mean, that Doctor Strange has always been one of my favorite Marvel characters to kind of look at, and like not necessarily my favorite movie, but just like the way that he like learns his powers and gets trained by I forget whatever the place is called, whatever, but like the way that you can manipulate nature into its other ways. Like imagine if that was possible, if people could suddenly just like turn something into like turn my cell phone into like a sword or something. Just be able to kind of like switch things quickly like that. It's always interested. It has always interested me about how that would go about, or how like those changes would take place. Like what, because like if the matter cannot be created nor destroyed. Like where does that other matter come from? And like is it just like formed out of thin air because it is like really magical powers, or does it come from like an energy source within you or something like that?
Have you watched Full Metal Alchemist at all? It's an anime.
I have not. Full Metal I feel like I've definitely heard of that.
There's a fully dubbed version. It's really 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 well done. It's not it's kind of a long watch if it's paced well, but I believe the entirety of it is on Netflix and it's English dubbed. But getting really deep into it, the actual series, and it's I think it's maybe around 100 episodes. It's like a couple seasons. It's lengthy enough where you would have to segment it out, but it explores the concepts of alchemy and the conversion of matter in like a scientific and fantastical type of nature. But when they get into the metaphysics of it and like the core and the whole plot behind it, it really gets into like the concept of like people who I don't know it explores that concept that you just explained very well in a very like, I don't want to say like a religious type of way, but like the concept of like men who try to like become literal gods and stuff like that, and the whole core plot behind how deep that goes, and it gets pretty deep. I remember the first time I finished it thinking like, damn, that was I don't know, it piqued my curiosity for those types of narratives. Kind of like there's another one that Nick Eicher got me onto. It's called it's much shorter than Full Metal Alchemist, but it's I think it is dubbed. It was made in like the 90s. It's called Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh, I've seen a little bit of that.
That is a literal acid trip in like an anime format. It's crazy, man.
That's something that I've seen a couple episodes of this show, and that's something that's like crazy. Like I don't even know how these people come up with these things. You have to watch it
in its entirety, and when you're finally done with it, you sit there and you're like, wow, that I don't know if you've ever been on psychedelics, but that is like watching that and understanding that from front to back and finishing it is the closest thing I've ever like experienced to a real life acid trip without actually being on a psychedelic.
I think I'm trying to remember. I know I've seen a couple episodes of it, and then I saw. I forget how he explained it to me, but there was a way that it like broke off into different branches, and then there was like a final movie or something like that. I watched the final.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I watched the final movie. I remember that was like one of the things Iker showed me. I remember that, just watching that, being like, I wish I was on psychedelics, because this would have been, and like even
it's an experience, but like, and it is kind of hard to make sense, like unless you do. Like, if it doesn't make sense, there will be, I don't know, there probably will be some times where you'll have to go beyond what is displayed in front of you to understand, like, this, because there's a lot of symbolism to it, but, like, regardless of if you understand the symbolism for what was intended behind it or not, like, the experience of, like, how they present this, what's it called, Deus Ex Machina or something, or Man Becomes Machine.
Yep.
How they explore that concept and the truth to it, and how sorry, as people coming home right now, to whatever extent that is literally true or more on a metaphorical basis. But I mean, the more we think about it, we are entering an augmented reality quicker than people care to admit.
What makes you say that? Just like the way our society's heading with VR and everything?
Like Yeah, like the way in which our cell phones are literally an extension of ourselves, of our
100%.
identity on a social, on an economic, on a sometimes on a professional standpoint. It represents us, and the lack of it represents a statement almost. Like one who truly wishes to live off the grid would start by living without a smartphone. Like that's the true difference. Like people who like you can still live an isolated and off the grid lifestyle without having a smartphone, and that will I don't know, that'll take away a layer of how the cell phone identify or kind of defines a part of our identities as humans and as citizens at the same time. It's a huge multifaceted thing that's kind of integrated into us as we, I don't know, kind of exist with it and grow with it in our lives.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've never thought about it that way, and how our phones really are an extension of ourselves at this point. I mean, even if you look a decade ago when I was a freshman in high school, I don't even know if I had a smartphone at that point. I think I was still rocking a full keyboard. I had a full keyboard type phone. I thought like I wanted that in my phone because I was texting so much that I needed a full keyboard. I don't think it was until like my sophomore junior year where I actually got a smartphone. But now, like, if you don't have a smartphone, people look at you weird. Like, you don't have a smartphone, like you have a regular flip phone. What is this, like the 90s? It's just funny like how our smartphones literally, I agree with you, like become an extension of ourselves, and like we're always connected to everything at every moment when you're holding one of these smartphones, that you can find anything at any moment or join any kind of group or find anyone you can really find with this little mini computer in your hands, basically. And the way that that's kind of forcing us into a future where technology will become basic. I mean, technology, we already rely on technology so much, but like the way that technology will become even more instrumental to how we operate on even the smallest of things. It'll be interesting to see how we kind of move forward in that direction.
Right. And it's, there are people like, people are taking to call him Daddy Elon, man. Daddy Elon's been going on the shows like Joe Rogan, and kind of people that branch in that department of tech and, specified tech and generalized. Actually, Elon kind of dabbling in that extensive tech, with the rockets and the general tech for everybody, like really knocking up that net value, and while investing in Bitcoin. These people who are super tech heavy, and the guy who overtook what's his name, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. He's a tech guy. You know what I mean? The integration of, maybe not necessarily like the new generation of like super tech guys like Elon, the super progressive guys who are trying to change the entire world right now, but the people who understand not only, of course, the risk to the technology, but like first and foremost the conveniences and the opportunities that we can have to make our lives easier and more convenient. And it goes hand in hand, I think, with teaching these kids those values up front while learning how to survive straight up, like kind of like this Texas situation where like there's a silver lining to everything. Where like there's a lot of outrage about this mayor who, like, he should be doing his job a whole lot better, but we live in a day and age where like I don't know, we do, and I take for granted a lot of this time, a lot too. I feel like the government should be taking care of a lot more than they really should be. Like how able are we as individual citizens when it comes to like, weather-based Armageddon? You know what I mean? Like, forget the whole, other countries blowing us up because of nukes. Like, what happens when, like, an Arctic winter rolls over and it like doesn't go away. Like what are we gonna do then? Like, is there protocol for like a 100-day blizzard, that doesn't stop? I don't know. It's just something that, I don't know, taking the time to understand the value of the simple things, of the necessities, and the the convenience that the technology that a lot of people worked really hard to make it accessible to us and readily available to us. Be aware of all those variables as, the current leaders of this agenda, of this like DIY, but also DIT. I saw this the other day, this concept called DIT, do it together. And I like that first, as like a second step. First and foremost, learn how to be DIY, and then we can all be DIT. We can do it together. And I like that. I like that being a second step to the formula.
Yeah, I like that because, we as a human race are meant to be social beings. Like, we're not meant to live on our own. So, yeah, like, you have to figure things out on your own, but, like, we're supposed to live in groups and societies, families, whatever, town, whatever you want to call it. But it is important, not just yourself to know what's going on, but, like, the people around you. And the way you... like the e-cig technology, I think, has just been amazing. The way that technology has advanced in even the past 20 years, like ever since basically the internet almost exploded the way technology grew, because it was so easy to share things with other people, whether it be ideas, stories, whatever it is, or like ways to do things. Yeah. The ability to share things with someone halfway across the globe has really allowed this technology boom to really like explode, and it's going to keep growing, which is even scarier, because you have people like Elon Musk who are trying to make it so we can easily travel into space. You have Jeff Bezos, who is richer than him or not richer than him, depending on what day of the week it is, in all that he's doing with Amazon. And it's just amazing like how much these technology-based companies have exponentially grown over the past 20 years. Because like when Amazon first started, it was just books. Like they were just buying, people like were just buying and selling books online, and that was it. And now they literally do everything you can think of. Amazon, like they're just like one of the biggest companies in the world.
They made getting the things that people need as accessible as they can be. You know what I mean? Going on their app, a well-oiled machine to get a lot of items at a good price and ship it to them for free, essentially, within a predictable amount of acceptable days for all of their customers. And we live in an age now where like, collecting, back in the day, remember when the value of like nabbing a Mickey Mantle baseball card was like such a huge market for children and adults alike, and now we have a day and age where like people will pay fiat cryptocurrency for non-fungible tokens, or basically digital versions of these collectibles. Like what's happening right now, the NBA Top Shot or whatnot, they're basically taking snapshots or 10-second moments of NBA clips and real-time footage, and they're tokenizing it, and they're basically selling it in collectible, I don't know, in collectible ways, in waves or tiers or what. They're basically, they're tokenizing these NBA moments, and I believe the top one, most recent one for a LeBron James moment, I believe for a moment like last year, sold for $100,000. And the barrier to entry for these things isn't too it's not inaccessible. It comes down to most of the time purchasing a small amount of, I don't know, kind of these, I guess, gambling situations, a small amount which could turn into a large sum. It's an interesting market, but that's where the new wave of what people are desiring and what people are looking forward to in terms of what they feel is a collectible or something that holds value. It's moving into a different paradigm, as I talked about earlier.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've seen a little bit of that on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really, excuse me, Matt. I'll be live for about another 30 minutes ish. That's all. So 10:30 Eastern, I'll be live until. Thanks for the question, Matt Eves. You brought this up, and it's really interesting because I saw this on Twitter the other day about these people monetizing highlights.
Yeah.
Like how I don't really understand how that works, and like you kind of make it make a little more sense to me. And
yeah, they basically take the footage and the person, and there are certain instances where they will make only 1,000 copies of that particular reel of footage that they've packaged to an aesthetic, in an aesthetic way, or on a scarcity type of way, or sometimes both. You know, like that one certain LeBron James clip was packaged and tokenized in a real pretty aesthetic way to be pulled up and viewed by anybody, but is owned by that particular person who may have, I don't know, only spent $10 or $20 on like a gamble pack or whatever, of like 10 moments or whatnot that may hold up to may hold more value in the future. You know, like Tyler Hero moments blew up during this past finals. There's one particular one, like there are these moments that are being packaged and tokenized are going for hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars on the regular. And whether people are particularly into the whole collecting aspect or realm of that is a given, but also kind of irrelevant in the sense that the market in itself is there. And I don't know, for people who like me, who watch a lot of basketball and basketball highlights in particular, I don't know, you get in on a certain one for a player young into his career that takes off later in a couple seasons, but you pick up a moment or a couple of his early on in his career, like that $10 or $20 investment in a couple players' moments might be worth hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and it's kind of exciting to see when you are because I'm kind of investing a little bit in the crypto realm and getting a bit of a portfolio there.
Right.
But a lot of these purchases for a lot of like this digital art and the scarcity aspect of it are only purchasable by a lot of these crypto decentralized financial fiat currencies. And it's, I don't know, it's an exciting time because it's still early enough to where, like, if you start setting up a dedicated portfolio, you know, have a little bit of money. Like for me, I set aside like $25, $30 a week to put into a certain thing, whether that's a coin or an investment, pretty much always digital investments or assets. I don't know, we're still in a day and age where these sort of investments can see exponential growth and value, and it's really for a lot of people the only way to get in their foot in the door for those types of financial gains. And it takes a while to be able to like understand the skeletal framework of it, but I don't know, getting involved. I know a lot of G Money's friends are involved in the crypto game. I know Wale is, and I know who's in it.
Shouts out Wale.
A lot of who else?
No, I was just saying shouts out to Wale. That's all I was saying.
Shouts out Wale.
Yeah, I was just saying shouts out.
Who else is in there too? Uzi, I believe, is in the crypto game too.
Yeah, Uzi came on and talked a little bit to us about the crypto, definitely.
Yeah, they definitely got into it, and I remember when we had that conversation was probably the perfect time to be putting in, like, I mean, even the same amount that I'm putting in now, but would the amount that I could be getting in that market would be worth so much more right now if I just bought and held and bought and held and bought and held. I could probably have bought myself a car at this point and probably be taking care of a lot of other financial strains in my life as well.
Yeah, so
to be quite honest.
Yeah, so to go back to the highlights real quick. So they're essentially like trading cards basically, except for highlights instead of pictures. Is that kind of how
right.
it is? So if you get like I'm like throw out an example. Say you get a Zion Williamson highlight in like a pack. So you like buy a pack of highlights and they give them to you when you have like these certain highlights. But like say it's a Zion Williamson highlight that from like a windmill dunk from this year. And then 20 or so years into the future, when Zion Williamson has become potentially like a Hall of Famer, that the value of that highlight should significantly go up, just like a Zion Williamson rookie card price would significantly rise as he became greater and greater of a basketball player.
Because they're only making a certain amount of packs distributed per however long is per sector for distribution for their new packs or whatever. They only make a limited amount of those packs, and within those packs are a finite amount of however many cards they package within that pack. And because of the scarcity there, and the pairing with the NBA to acquire this footage, because I believe the NBA is partnered with NBA Top Shots, in efforts to create a digital asset and tokenize it, and have it accrue and appreciate value naturally over time by virtue of tokenization on a blockchain, which makes its existence and its existence, one, irrefutable, and two, the tarnished ability, like it doesn't tarnish like a physical object, it just exists, and the scarcity and it basically falls onto the scarcity of the asset and the desirability of it. And as long as the market continues to grow, the potential for the asset to accrue and appreciate in value only goes up, much like the whole crypto market is just like in a complete bull run right now. And much like all bull runs, that will come to an end. And I'm sure the whole market will just take a dump. And like stocks, you know what I mean? The value of these things go up and down and up and down and up and down. And like you can, buy it and hold it. And, at one point in time, it'll probably hold a value that is much more than what you purchased it for, or not. But with the way that people are getting into this market, with the type of money that's coming into this market, like the first and foremost, the crypto market is the Bitcoin first and foremost is about to overtake silver as like the 7th biggest business in the entire world at almost like 1.5 trillion. Like Bitcoin right now is over 1.1 trillion dollars in market cap.
Holy smokes.
The entire crypto market is, I think, 1.5 trillion dollars in market cap.
Wow.
And I believe it can be on the upwards of $2 trillion in market cap, if not more, depending on the appreciation of Bitcoin, and depending on how it bulls out and bears out and bulls out, depending how this whole year goes. It can be an exciting time for investors and collectors and people who are trying to dabble in the digital realm and make money basically from the comfort of their own home, and realize that that's a thing that's possible. It's something that took me a long time to realize that is possible. And I don't know, like there's a stigma behind like going out and making your money and working for your money like hour for hour and having a consistent basis for that, which is something that is necessary to have consistent income. But to neglect investing in yourself through digital assets and creating portfolios for a portfolio or multiple for yourself, I felt is doing myself a disservice. So I've kind of dipped my toes in a little bit, and it's fun to sit here and watch the market, change over time, and the way in which I invest my money, the little trickles that I have to throw here or there. I don't know. It's shaping my mind to be business positive rather than see the concept of business as like an alpha male dominated world that like I have to fuck people or excuse me.
Oh.
I have to screw people over. I have to screw people over and like it's not like that anymore. The world of finance is becoming more decentralized, and there's enough of the cake for everybody, and a lot of people don't realize that yet.
Yeah, I think just the whole growth of cryptocurrency, I mean, it kind of goes back to our technology talk where it's just the way that it's come about and the way that it's grown on its own. It's amazing to me because I don't remember if I told this story last week. I remember my dad telling me about how he had a student who, this was like back before even high school, so I was probably still in middle school, like 08, 09, roughly, so like 12 or 13 years ago. How he had a student who told him that he should invest in Bitcoin because like he was like, yeah, this kid has like $100 in Bitcoin or something like that, and like I don't know what it is, but he told me to buy some.
$100, dude. 10 years ago, the price of Bitcoin was pennies. It was less than $1.
Exactly. I'm just trying to think of how. Hopefully that kid held on until now.
We're at an all-time high today. Yesterday, actually, Bitcoin broke $50,000 for one Bitcoin for the first time ever, which is just so huge. And it's been seeing support. Oh, if I go back and I look, it's been seeing support for the upwards of $50,000. It's been sitting around 51, 52, literally all day long. It's at 51.4 right now.
That's
and
insane.
Just see this going, see all the money coming in, people buying it, selling it. Like I'm just seeing the ticks on a minute scale, and I look out, I see the hourly scale, and I see how it's been appreciating. And like, man, if it dumps again, like just I don't know, just buy more or something. Just throw a little bit of money into it and watch the ride go up, man. It's a thrill. It is kind of a thrill. It is gambling. I don't condone anybody do it. And if you do seek advice through some sort of financial advisor of some way, shape, or form, I invest what I feel like I afford to.
Responsibly.
And
always.
I don't know. Right now, I made a couple $100 just kind of investing here and there, like money that might have been spent otherwise. But I don't know. Right now, it's just kind of sitting in an e-wallet, appreciating value.
Yeah, and I mean, if anyone is able to take advantage of the markets and knows what they're doing, I'm all for that. That's like you said, it's gambling. It's its own version of gambling. It's not in the sports aspect where you're relying on an event to like a certain event or a certain outcome, whether it's just like waiting for a certain time to either buy or sell and then wait until you want to buy or sell again. Like it's and especially with like the way the crypto's grown, even over the past year, the way that even Bitcoin has exponentially grown over the past year or two, it'll be interesting to see. Like you said, that more like some companies are allowed, like Elon wants to let people pay by Bitcoin. Like Uber and Lyft might let people pay by Bitcoin.
Apple's about to make a huge purchase. Just these pools of trust funds are coming in and just buying up huge amounts of it. Like Elon, he threw 1.5 billion, and that bumps Bitcoin up from like 48,000 to like 49. Like it almost tipped it over the edge, and then some company came in and like put down like billions and billions of dollars into Bitcoin and just like pushed it over the edge. And I don't know, it's hard to see how all these companies, like not just individual whales, but whole companies are coming in and purchasing Bitcoin. It helps me gain confidence as someone who literally just buys and holds and just watches the market and buys and holds. And when it goes down, I buy a little bit. And then it goes up and appreciates it just a little bit. You know, like I don't put in a whole lot, you know, just enough to like kind of, I don't know, basically have it be like a savings account with like a huge AP, what is it, API?
It's like it,
you know,
appreciate.
like
And I
have to wait like a year for, instead of a year of $300 turning into $320, it's $300 turns into $520. You know, it's or it could be $300 turns into $200 tomorrow. But I don't know. As someone who's like been honestly doing nothing other than like working inside my island, my home, and watching the markets. I don't know. If someone wants to get into it, my advice would be just to do your research on a project that, if it's not Bitcoin, just a project that has a solid team and a foundation and good market cap and a lot of volume coming in and out. I don't know, maybe make an investment and put some money aside. Like my goal for all of this is to get a car out of it. You know, once I get enough to get like an Impala or something, like a 2012 Chevy Impala, I'm gonna take my money out. I'm gonna make that investment, and it's something that I might not have been able to, do otherwise if it was sitting in my bank account with, just sitting in U.S. currency, which is decreasing in value on a day-per-day basis.
Yeah, versus the
crypto. Crazy to think about, but literally the dollar is losing its value as it's sitting in my bank account. It's just like what's more of a risk, that like letting it sit there and trying to work hour for hour for my money, or maybe pull it over a little by little and see if it appreciates in value. And so far it's been appreciating in value. Like I'm losing confidence in the traditional banking system day by day.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think are the masses, or maybe even the government, is more afraid of, is that if these cryptocurrencies become too strong, then the US dollar just becomes irrelevant. Like that might be a future that we would see, but how the government is not prepared for that. Like they have no, just like we were talking, they don't have a plan for a snowpocalypse to last 100 days. They probably don't have a plan for if the dollar suddenly crashes and we all rely on cryptocurrency. Like the future is very unpredictable in that way, where if the technology gets bigger and more people start investing in this cryptocurrency, if the dollar might just significantly
an unhealthy form of gambling would be to, I don't know, say take your stimulus check and put all of that into cryptocurrency. That would be bad gambling. That is a form of that's gambling right there. That's a sickness.
That's
right
an extreme.
I don't know, but taking like $20 every couple of weeks and investing it and putting that into a portfolio, I don't know how that's really a problem. But I digress.
Yeah, just like you should gamble responsibly, you should invest responsibly and not get careless with it. It works both ways, because both are sorry, there were comments coming in. Just the way that, I don't know. Apparently, G Money said China is trying to move towards only digital currency. That's interesting. China's always in the forefront of those kind of things. Mark Hughes says,
"Man, they're FOMOing real quick. They're FOMOing super hard."
I mean, China loves to move fast on everything, so I'm not surprised that they're going to might try to be the first ones to move only digital currency. I'm just really curious how that'll work when they do business with other countries, because no other country is like gonna strictly be digital when they do it. I don't even know if like the U.S. would the U.S. accept a payment of cryptocurrency, or like not necessarily the U.S. but like any country, would they accept a crypto payment? Like how would they? I wonder what that standard or what those guidelines would kind of be like.
It depends on who trickles in. Like if Apple really is going to make a big purchase in, like as an entity, as a business, if they are going to make a purchase in cryptocurrency, then I don't know. It's not like they're going to start. They're making that investment for the long run. You know what I mean? So like a $1 billion investment in Bitcoin now could be, I don't know, a could be $2 billion by the end of it, which is a huge difference,
Right, exactly. Do you have any Matt Eves, who works for a bank, said digital banking is the way to go. No one goes to a bank branch. That will translate to crypto. That's a great point, because no one, especially with the pandemic now, no one wants to see a banker face to face. Like, the only time I've gone to a physical bank in the past couple of years was when I actually needed a check, and because I don't have a checkbook, I needed a check for like certain things. That's the only times I've gone to the bank. So that's a very good point, that digital banking is going to be the way it goes, and that will translate to cryptocurrency. That's a good point, Matt. Thank you for saying that.
There are a couple stable coins that are tethered to the U.S. dollar that, sometimes when people get scared about the price of Bitcoin, they all flood into like Tether or U.S. dollar coin that has withstood the test of time, if I'm looking correctly. Like, they don't, like, Tether, which is the most popular. Sorry.
So I'm going to read the comments. Meeves, a bad form of gambling is also betting the Bruins on the puck line in 2021. Yeah, I wish I knew more about hockey.
That means more to you. I don't know what that means.
See, the puck line is basically minus 1.5 or plus 1.5 goals. Basically, if they win by 2 goals. I don't watch enough hockey to know, but I'm kind of agree with, based on what he texts me about his gambling habits, that betting the Bruins is never a good idea, or at least puck line. I don't know about over goals and everything. Betting hockey has always been a mystery to me. I can kind of understand betting other sports, but betting hockey is going to be a mystery, because I just don't watch as much hockey.
That's an instinctive thing, there's some people that have an instinct for it, you know what I mean? And like, I know certain people that just can call it, and they've lost a lot, and it's, I'm sure they have their own regrets to deal with it, but like, I've seen them make some pretty decent ass calls and make a decent amount of money from it. It's its own thing. You just got to be smart with it. Everything in moderation, and as G Money said, everything. Or as you said too, too much of anything is never a good thing.
Yeah. So please drink responsibly, smoke responsibly, gamble responsibly, and invest responsibly, and drive safely.
Find. What I like to ask people all the time is, like, I like to ask people if they have any form of creative outlets. If you don't have something to express yourself other than that isn't just destructive to yourself in one way, shape, or form. You like to draw, write, shoot photos, make videos.
Yeah, some sort of
go
release.
On the radio, man. It's a form of like, I'll go kickboxing.
Mm-hmm.
Something. Go dancing.
Yeah, something as a release from the norm to kind of let those bad vibes or whatever just out of whatever you need to get out of your system, just to let it out. Some sort of outlet that isn't detrimental to your bank account as much as gambling or investing can be if you're not smart about it. But there are smart gambling and there is smart investing. You just got to be aware of what you're doing and just know what you're doing, because if you're careless, then it could be really bad for you in the long term.
Right. I wish that we got to talk a little bit more about basketball next week. I know I kind of went off on a financial tangent as a very much non-financial advisor or financial connoisseur of any type. Because there's a lot of good sports happening, and there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. But I guess, just talking about, seeing a lot of those non-fungible those tokenization, the moments, the NBA moments it's a really important thing tethered into the NBA, is something that we talk about. I don't know, definitely something that I might consider looking at as another form of investment. And I don't know, maybe even something that, like, I don't know, how would you say, Daniel, that what sports you watch the most out of all sports?
That's a good question. I guess out of all the sports I watch the most, based on percentage of games played, I guess football would be the correct answer. Only because there's...
What sport do you feel like you have the best eye for? Like, you could look at a player and be like, early in his career, and be like, that kid's special.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd probably say baseball.
That's a different question.
I would say
I
baseball.
Followed up with that.
It's a different question. I would say baseball only because I've always been a baseball person and I love reading about the prospects and like who's coming up in what system and things like that. So I'd probably say baseball in terms of knowing who's going to be a star and who's going to fall off on the next, like having a awareness of who's going to be the next, like LeBron or like in terms of that,
right.
that sport. I'd probably say baseball for me personally.
It'd be interesting how they could digitize an asset that would entice collectors to basically form a market around it. You know, with NBA, it's easy with the highlights and like, you know, they have outfielder highlights and stuff. So I don't know, maybe players like Javi Baez might be the most, I don't know, sought after type of tokenization in the digital market. But I don't know, maybe I don't know of any other companies other than NBA Top Shot that does that, or something that's something I might invest in. But I don't know any other like popular ones on the uprise right now. It's a pretty new and young market. But yeah, I don't know. I would encourage people who feel like they have an eye for any particular sport to take a look and see if there's a market for those types of digital assets where maybe you could go out and cruise some at a cheap rate right now, and I don't know, they might be able to appreciate in value over time.
Yeah.
Being patient.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to actually look into this NBA Top Shot and may potentially invest. I don't know if I'll actually throw money, but I'm definitely going to read up on it and kind of look into it because now I'm very, very curious about this kind of the way that they're monetizing highlights and moments. It's very intriguing to me, and I'm very curious about that. Matt, you are correct. I was the one who put the SI cover of Bryce Harper in my middle school time capsule. That was me. It was the cover where he was like, but like to be fair, on that cover, he was like 15 years old, and everyone was like, oh, this is the next Babe Ruth. So like everyone saw that coming. But like,
well, an interesting thing is like with the increase in these types of digital markets, it only elevates like the value of these more physical assets. Like as time goes on, it's like if these markets continue to be more popular digitally, those physical assets are going to increase in value or only going to increase in value. So I don't know if you have any sort of stash of physical memorabilia. But I feel like continuing to hold on to those is only going to benefit people for the future.
Yeah, I got a few things stored away. I won't be giving up my secrets, but I got a few things that might be worth something.
Oh,
someday.
You have some secrets, Dan?
I have some memorabilia. Let's just put it at that might appreciate in value.
I'll tell you one that I know probably won't, and it's kind of it's funny because we got it at the tail end of his career. We got it when this guy was like still a big deal and people talked about him before people kind of like, I don't know, what was it, excommunicated him from the baseball world.
Oh, Pete Rose?
No, Sammy Sosa. I have a signed Sammy Sosa ball and his rookie cards.
Oh, poor Sammy.
I know, man.
Poor Sammy. The man deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It stinks. I think everyone was. We had this discussion, but we talked about it when the voting came out. But I think everyone who did that steroids in that era should deserve to be in because they were just better for the sport in general, no matter what the old heads are saying. But I'd hang on to that because he might get a veterans vote in a couple years or so, and that might be worth some real money. So definitely hold on to that.
I did see him popping up in a couple of documentaries and stuff, but only as like he lives in his basically where he came from, and like, he doesn't really interact with the NBA or the MLB world anymore.
Yeah, he's still not allowed at Wrigley. They have not allowed. He hasn't come back since he's retired as a player.
Huh.
So I hope the Cubs organization opens up because he deserves to be there, and he does. Honestly, 21 should be retired as a Cubs jersey. I think anyone who was a Cubs fan in the 90s would agree that the man was instrumental to the game at that moment and deserves to be recognized.
For sure,
as such.
like him and Moises and Aramis, bro. Mm-hmm. They had that was just such a stacked team back then. They had Pryor was a couple years later.
I mean, Kerry Wood, Greg Maddux.
Kerry Wood. Greg Maddux, bro. I remember. Didn't he come out of retirement or something like that to play with him?
I think so. Let me look at that real quick. Now I'm curious about those early Cubs teams. Shouts out Greg Maddux.
I remember just the hype of like Greg Maddux coming either like to the Cubs or back to the Cubs or something like that. That was back in the day, man. That was like at least a decade, over a decade ago.
Yeah, I guess
No,
it was like
almost 2
2005,
decades ago,
2006.
almost 15, at least 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was around it was around 05, 06, around that time. G Money, shouts out Alfonso Soriano. That guy was a beast. Shouts out Alfonso Soriano.
Right.
Loved Alfonso Soriano. That was actually my first Cubs jersey. My mom came to visit Chicago when I was in high school, and she asked me, "Do you want a Cubs shirt?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want a Cubs shirt." And she got me Alfonso Soriano because that's who I wanted, because that was around when he was doing 40 homer, 40 stolen bases. Like, the man was a machine. Shouts out Alfonso Soriano.
Thanks.
All right, just, any last minute thoughts before I kind of wrap up the show here? Anything else you want to end off with?
No, sir. I won't dominate the rest of the airwaves for the night. I'll leave you with that. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll reconvene sometime before next week.
Always a pleasure. Just, I hope to see you next week, and I hope to see you soon. And good luck with the crypto. Keep investing and keep being smart about that stuff, all right?
Appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you, my friend. Have a great night.
You too.
Peace. Woo! Jermaine Dye. Yeah, that 05 White Sox team was a wagon, G-Money. That's very true. That team was a wagon. So, thank you to both my co-hosts for calling in and making this solo show 100% easier, because it allowed me to bounce a conversation with one of them easily through our Skype line. I'm sorry to everyone else who wanted to call in that you didn't get a chance to. I just had my two co-hosts call in and take up about 100% of that time, which is totally fine. Hold on, I'm making some notes for the podcast, because if you're not aware of it, we release all of our shows onto digital podcasts. So wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find Northside Plugged. I'll get it up sometime tomorrow afternoonish. And if I know you like to watch us because you like to see our beautiful faces on YouTube Live. But if you just want to hear our beautiful voices while you're walking or doing work or things like that, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. Just search Northside Plugged wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can find us that way. I want to thank everyone, both of my co-hosts, for calling in. I want to thank everyone who tuned in. Thank you to everyone who commented. G-Money staying with the chat. Coop for leading me in. Pet and Emily for getting on early. And then, of course, Mark and Matt Eves for doing well at McGee's and leading the charge always, as they do at McWiggins, closing it down over there in Whitman, Mass. We'll be back next week. No Ramblers games this weekend. Don't worry, people. They'll be back next weekend. No Ramblers games this weekend. If you can, get outside as much as you can. I know there's a lot of snow out there for some people. It's supposed to snow later. I know it's a couple inches are coming to the East Coast. I was talking to my parents. So I hope you all have a great weekend. Watch some good movies. I'm planning on watching a lot of good movies this weekend. Shouts out to Meeves. I'm actually going to finish season 4 of Sopranos this week. I'm probably going to finish that tomorrow, Meeves. I promise you. The new WandaVision I'm going to watch tomorrow. Whoever's a WandaVision guy, please let me know if you're a WandaVision person, because that show is so good right now. What else am I watching? Shameless, really good if you're a Chicago person. I'm going to watch Godfathers 1 and 2, because I feel like you have to watch those at least once a year, and it's about time for me to catch up on those. And Judas and the Black Messiah on HBO Max. That's on my number one go-to that just released. I need to watch that because it has I always forget the guy's name. Daniel something from Get Out, and Lakeith Stanfield, who's honestly one of my favorite actors in Hollywood right now, because everything he's in I think is just fantastic. So thanks again for everyone for tuning in. Thanks G-Money for thanking everyone in the chat a second time. Always need reassurance there. I appreciate you all for tuning in as always, and I hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see y'all next week. I love you guys so much. I love everyone who tunes into our shows, and I really mean that. I love and appreciate everyone who tunes into what we do, because without anyone tuning in and without anyone listening to us, it's not even worth doing at the end of the day. But when I see all these comments and when people call in or when people tell me they listen, it just makes my heart warm, and it really makes me feel better about what we do. And I promise we're going to keep getting better and better as time goes on. So, yeah. Anything else to sign off with? Anything else that I wanted to talk about? I'm trying to think before I sign off here. No, I don't think so. Go Ramblers. Have a weekend. Have some beverages. Have a lot of good beverages. Responsibly, of course. Responsibly. Everything responsibly, people. And I love you all. Thank you.